Hello and welcome to part 2 of our celebration of Lucasfilm's 50th anniversary with a conversation with 501st member Matt as we look at Lucasfilm and Disney's relationship in the parks.
Welcome to the WDW Reflections Podcast. Here, we'd love to talk about the Walt Disney World Resort, the way we remember it, how it's changed, and why we still enjoy visiting the most magical place on Earth. So come with us on a podcast journey as we reflect on the WDW Reflections Podcast. Hey y'all, welcome to the WDW Reflections Podcast, your unofficial guide through Walt Disney World memories and their connections to the parks we know and love today. I am Dewey. I am one of your hosts. And coming to us from the Big Apple, New York, how about my buddy Tony? What's going on, Tony? And today we have a special guest with us. My buddy from the 501st Legion, Matt, is coming to us from West Virginia. Matt is a fan of the show who regularly interacts with us on social media, but he's also very well versed on the main topic of today's show. Thanks for being here, Matt.
No problem.
All right, fellas, are we ready to reflect on this week's WDW Reflections Podcast?
Let's start.
All right, let's get it done.
Okay, so the Lucasfilm and Disney partnership extends back into the 80s. The partnership actually started out somewhat in the parks. And so with that, since this is a parks-related show, that's where we want to focus on today. How Lucasfilm and Disney partnered to create some of the most memorable attractions in Walt Disney World and Disneyland and Disney parks in general.
The wizardry of Lucas. The mastery of Coppola. The phenomenal music and dance of Michael Jackson. Captain EO.
What do you guys remember about Captain EO?
Look, first of all, Michael Jackson in the 80s, he was probably the most famous person on the planet.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So the fact that they, I don't know what they paid him or whatever, but the fact that they got him to be in a theme park attraction or a 3D movie was pretty amazing. And that was a big deal. Of course I was a huge Star Wars fan, so I'm in. Lucas, is involved, and then Michael Jackson's in it. I'm in. So, it was like Clash of the Titans almost, it had all the big names. It was Disney, it was Lucas, it was Michael Jackson.
Well, actually, I was able to see that a little more recently. In 2016, I was in Disneyland, and they brought it back there for a short time. So it was neat to see it again. Being younger, I remember being scared partly by it. Whenever it was like a spider lady type thing that was scary as a young kid.
You remember the part? It was all in 3D, right? So she had those claws came up in 3D at the camera. Yeah, it was kind of scary for a kid.
So, but the other thing was the Michael Jackson's crew. Whenever they actually form to make the instruments to play at the very end of it. I always thought that was the neatest thing about this guy. Trying to fit in here, and it was like a Transformer type thing.
Yes.
So I thought that was always neat.
Transformers before Transformers, right?
I believe the sound effects in that were fantastic. The way the theater was utilized to create this kind of a surround, probably Lucas's own beginnings of their system, where you can kind of feel the sound all around you.
I'm sure all the stuff that eventually became THX in theaters around the country started in some of the experimental stuff that they were doing for stuff like Captain EO. Absolutely, it was like nothing you'd ever heard before. It was the 3D movie with sounds coming from behind you and stuff. And nowadays we have surround sound in our homes, but back then that was revolutionary. So.
But even so, I don't know, Dewey, I don't know if you had a chance to revisit it when they brought it back to Disney Parks within the past 10 years or so. But I thought it was even more exciting because at this point now the seats were vibrating and the laser effects were added to it, and it made it much more of an immersive experience than it was back in the 80s.
All right, everybody, here comes Mr. Alien.
But we moved from that family-friendly exhibit in Epcot to one that was a little bit more controversial and was eventually replaced, even though it had the names of George Lucas and Walt Disney as collaborators. And of course, I'm talking about the extraterrestrial, or as it later became known, Alien Encounter.
So listen, this came out in 95, extraterrestrial, we just called it Alien Encounter. So I was all over extraterrestrial, man. This Alien Encounter was edgy and scary, and technologically it was a really amazing thing to see. I mean, it was, you know, as an adult, I knew it wasn't real, but holy smokes, it seemed real. Like, it was really well done. I probably went on this thing, I don't know, in the couple of years that it existed, probably 7, 8, maybe 10 times tops. But dude, it was great. It was probably one of the best attractions in Magic Kingdom at that time. Remember when they redid Tomorrowland in the Magic Kingdom at Walt Disney World in 94? It was, you know, New Tomorrowland. So the theme of that New Tomorrowland was that it was this galactic spaceport, basically. So Tomorrowland was this whole area where people or creatures or ships or whatever from all over the galaxy was coming here. So the whole pre-show was these alien creatures basically trying to sell their stuff. It was like Home Shopping Network for
right.
You know, the galaxy. So it was real dramatic music, and it's like XS Tech is bringing this new technology to the galaxy, and all that kind of stuff on those 500-pound square TVs that were hanging from the ceilings, back in the 90s.
Yeah, and if you think about it, they did a good job of making that feel as if as soon as the doors behind you closed, it felt as if you were in this new modern technology area.
Yes, absolutely. It looked like, they did a good job theming it to a galactic convention center. It looked all sleek and not like Star Wars space, because that's all dingy and stuff. It looked more like Star Trek space, where it was sleek and modern and, clean and all that kind of stuff that you see in the Star Trek universe.
But unfortunately, audiences found it was too scary for families or for children in general, and it was reworked into Stitch's Great Adventure. But Matt, did you get a chance to ride that?
Yeah, we went in 95 and 98. I thought it was great. It was amazing ride or attraction. We don't remove. But my younger sisters did not like it at all. So they were, I guess, 10 and 12 at the time, somewhere around there. And so whenever we were in, we were like the last group in. And so I have an older sister as well, and then my parents were there. We got split up. And so bad choice. My parents sat alone, and it was the four of us sitting together. And so my two younger sisters were terrified. There's one point where they're trying to send the alien to you, and he gets lost along the way. And so they think they find him. They find some life form on a planet, and they send it to you, and it's this carnivorous monster alien. And so the lights all go out, and then someone above yells, "Is everyone okay down there?" Everyone goes, "Yeah." My two sisters go, "No." But the other technology they had of making it feel like the alien was there, and they had kind of like on a roller coaster, how the restraint comes down over your shoulders. It came down, and during the thing, it could go down farther. One, I think, it was to keep you from getting up and leaving, running out.
Definitely.
And two, it could like touch you on the shoulder, or at one point, I think the alien sneezes on you, and so you.
And plus, it also had the binaural sound on it as well.
Yeah, and you could, one point, the alien's behind you, and it licked the back of your head, so you could feel something moving up and down, or it was breathing on your neck. So the immersiveness of it was really, it was really, really good. It was whenever the person was above you, checking on you, then you hear the alien eat them, and then you get dripped on.
Yeah, right.
But it really put you in. It was more along the lines of seeing Alien than something that was being Disney. But it was fabulous. I really, really liked it. I was sad that they took it out.
The best part about it is that most attractions are a passive attraction, meaning you you're not a participant in it. You are watching a show, or you might be riding a ride, but you're not in the story. You're seeing a story. But with Alien Encounter, you were part of the story. Like, that alien was trying to eat you. It was. I mean, and the special effects were fantastic. So,
what I was just thinking is that maybe it went into the wrong park. Maybe what they should have done is kind of switch things around. Captain EO probably should have been there, and Alien Encounter should have been where Captain EO was, or in the studios where it probably really belonged.
Yeah, I think you're right. It may have survived if it had been in another place, but right down the main drag in Tomorrowland was maybe not the best location.
Well, perhaps the idea was to have a Lucasfilm presence in each of the parks, because the studios had its own attraction, actually a couple of attractions. We've discussed Star Tours in previous shows. What do you remember, or do you like Star Tours? What are your opinions on Star Tours? And guys, we didn't talk about Star Tours, The Adventures Continue. So what are your thoughts about that?
It's fun. I like that they randomize it into you can go to different planets and have different experiences on it. So it does what Disney wants, is he wants you to come back again and again and again to see different things. And so it definitely accomplishes that.
But yeah, the randomization is excellent on Star Tours. And what I like is that as a new movie has come out, they've added, some characters from Force Awakens, and then they put in some from, you do the, what's it, Crate is the sand or the salt planet or whatever from Last Jedi. So they added those scenes, and they even added in a Galaxy's Edge scene before Galaxy's Edge opened. So that's the best part of the new Star Tours, because it's digital rather than the original film version of Star Tours. They can add in some stuff. I'm waiting. Where's my Mandalorian scenes?
I'm sure that's coming, because I was on it in early 2020 in February, and they added the final battle from Rise of Skywalker in it. So
I haven't seen that.
Yeah,
I think it would be neat if you could have one of their ride vehicles be the original one, or have part of the randomization of you get the original one in there, or even if they could incorporate doing the trench run on the Death Star like they had in the original one into one of the newer ones of, here's one of the planets you go to, or, you're on Yavin right outside, attacking the Death Star or something like that. Or even the second Death Star and going through that one with Lando and the Millennium Falcon and Wedge and coming out of there. So, but it's a fun ride. I like the little thing with the Rebel spy that they project onto there, and I got picked once for that.
Oh, were you? That's fun.
I didn't have my phone out to take a picture of it, so I wasn't fast enough, but
that should be a thing, like a PhotoPass thing, that you should be able to get your Rebel spy picture or something added to your Magic Band or whatever. That really should be added, because I got picked for the Rebel spy one time too, and dude, that made my day. Like that actually probably made my trip. I was like, I got it. It was really cool.
You would think that after all these years, a 3D movie wouldn't be a big deal for anybody, but the 3D that they added to it is fun. The experience itself is fun, and they still, up until the pandemic, they had the Jedi training going on in that section as well. So it's a definite presence in that side of the park. And if you go a little bit right before you head there to the left, I believe it was, you get another Lucasfilm presence in the park, and that is the Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular, which has been pretty much a staple of that park since it opened, I believe, right?
I'm pretty sure that was an opening day attraction at MGM Studios. Yes, sir.
And if any of you have not been on that, it's actually a stadium show, but unlike other stadium shows that you see, it's themed to one of Lucas's most popular movie franchise, the Indiana Jones series. And we get to see a kind of a reenactment of how these movies are put together. It's not actually literal, because it's a show, it's a presentation. But again, Dewey, they find a way of including the audience in this. They bring people from the audience into the show. You get to be part of the Indiana Jones scene, and you get to experience what creating effects live is like.
Well, I'm going to definitely defer to Matt on this one because he was picked to be one of the participants in that show one time. So I'd like to hear that, a little bit about that story.
Actually, it was twice. So I've been the extra two different times.
2 times?
Yeah.
Wow.
So one way to get picked is I had on one of my 501st shirts, and I had R2D2 Mickey ears whenever I was jumping up, waving to get picked. So. And my wife videoed it, and the lady was like, "Oh, let's take. Oh my, yeah, let's take." so she got a kick out of my outfit. So, you come down. They take you in, I believe, 3 groups, and they have you do something in front of the audience in the very beginning. One of them is you're the stunt person. They make you hold different poses. They have people do. One guy who. You'll find out. I don't know if we want to do spoilers on this. I mean, it's only been out for about 20 some years,
right?
Or 30 some years. The one guy is a plant, and he's actually one of their people. And he holds this ridiculous pose of one-legged, leaning forward. Then one guy does this little strut thing at the end, and it's like a runway model. And you usually get like some big burly guy to do it too. Then they have 3 people come down and do laughs. They have a couple ladies to do a little, giggly laugh. They do someone who do goofy laugh, and then someone does an evil laugh. And I got to do the evil laugh one time.
Hello, what's your name? Where are you from?
Matt from Pittsburgh.
Matt from Pittsburgh. Matt, every action film has a villain. So I need you to give me a villainous laugh, deep, dark, and menacing. Oh, wow.
Let's hear it.
Yeah, let's hear it. Let's hear the evil laugh.
So they modified a bit. So it's actually you laughing, but they make it a lot deeper. But one of the classic villains of that.
Oh wow!
And then they have screamers, and I was one of the screamers one time. And whenever they had a scream, I put my hands up and I actually hit the hand of the lady who picks you. And she was like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "Yeah, aren't you supposed to hurt us after we sign the waiver?" So,
you got picked 2 times, and you got to do 2 different parts. You didn't do the same one twice, right?
Yeah, so that was the neat thing that I got to do in the beginning, 2 different things.
That is cool.
Then they take you up and you get your wardrobe of the turbans and the bathrobes, as they say. And then you get to stand around near the action during the second of their 3 scenes that they do, the Cairo scene. And so the lady who's there, the casting person who picks you, and she'll tell you, okay, make sure you're here, make sure you're here, do not go here, do not go here. We want to stay out of the area for their actors who are doing their flips and all their stunts. And there are some special effects that are, fire elements and explosions. And so they're warning you, okay, put your fingers in your ears for now, because it's going to be loud. Make sure you are here. Do not cross this line. And so they give you some direction of, do this, do that, fall down here, pretend you're doing this. So it's fun. And it lets you see the show from a different perspective. So normally you're in the audience looking at it from one way, seeing it from here, you get to see a lot of the fighting from another perspective and up close. So it's really, really neat.
Well, Indiana Jones did not just have one presence in the park. He actually, for a while, had 2. And he was part of the Great Movie Ride, which was one of the best scenes in the Great Movie Ride was when you went through and you got to see a scene from Raiders of the Lost Ark. And there was Indiana Jones with Sala lifting up the Ark. And in the background, there were a bunch of hieroglyphics. One of the hieroglyphics was a little Easter egg as well of R2D2 and C-3PO.
But I absolutely loved the Indiana Jones part. Them lifting the Ark up out of that tomb and everything. That was awesome. Great scene. And I didn't even put 2 and 2 together that Indiana Jones was there in 2 places in that park at the same time. That's funny that you said that. I knew it. Obviously, I've been on both of them 1,000 times.
I was never sure if it was the Great Movie Ride, if it was a great ride about movies, or if it was just a ride about great movies. And I wasn't sure what the great I'm talking about there. The only problem with the Indiana Jones ride is I could never see the C-3PO R2D2 very clearly.
Right.
Because the lighting wasn't good and he went by too fast. I kept looking and I could never really see it. So that's one time where I wouldn't mind if, the ride broke down right at that scene so I could, look at it better.
I go take a selfie with it, like pose right beside it, that would have been cool.
I wonder what happened with that wall. I wonder if somebody owns it or if it's in storage somewhere.
I'm sure they destroyed it.
I know they took some parts into the different Galaxy's Edges. That would be kind of a fun thing to have included in one of Duck Ondar's shop.
I've seen pictures online that in Disneyland, in the Duck Ondar's shop, at the antiquity shop, the circle up at the top where all the good stuff is, you can see the corner of Ark of the Covenant is back there.
Apparently, I've read somewhere else that they had they removed that at some point. But
really?
when it first opened, that definitely you could see the corner of the Ark of the Covenant. Which brings us to, speaking of Disneyland, Disneyland has a Lucasfilm presence with Indiana Jones and the Temple of the Forbidden Eye, which in my estimation was probably one of the best rides there. It was a very exciting ride for me. It's literally the Indiana Jones ride. You get to get into a car, and even though it follows a similar track system, not the exact, but a very similar track to the dinosaur ride in Animal Kingdom, but the special effects in it are so fun that you actually find yourself. I remember I was with my nephew, who's an adult as well. He was screaming his head off through the whole thing. Originally, you had different options as to where the adventure would lead you. If you went through one door, it would take you through one thing. If you went through another door, it would take you another thing. I think they gave all that up, and you just go through one door.
The special effects are just completely amazing. It's a very bumpy ride, though.
Bumpy.
It's rough. It's just like Dinosaur that you get thrown around. So definitely hold on for dear life, especially if you're a little bit taller, because my knees got banged against the little railings there all the time.
I like the surprise elements of it, though, too. There was one, I remember it led you into this one room that all of a sudden the arrows start shooting. I was ducking, even though I know they're not going to kill you, but I literally was ducking in that scene.
The cue for that is also pretty good. And as you're going through, there's things of don't pull this rope, and of course you pull on it. You hear the sounds and everything, and there's some hieroglyphics that if you pay attention, you can kind of decode them, kind of like with the Haunted Mansion cue. And so it has little messages in it. So they did a really good job with that.
It's definitely a fun presence. But they also expanded their presence into international waters. And Dewey, I don't know if you had a chance to when you were at Disneyland Paris. Did you get a chance to visit their Indiana Jones attraction?
I did ride. It's Indiana Jones in the Temple of Peril or something like that, I think. I think I went in 2005. So what I do remember is that it was just okay. I was really excited because I'm, big Indiana Jones fan. But it was... If I had to compare it to something, I would just say that it's basically Big Thunder Mountain with Indiana Jones theming. It wasn't like you guys are talking about the ride at Disneyland and how it's great, groundbreaking and really great special effects and all that stuff. This one wasn't. It's basically just a pretty tame roller coaster. It does have one loop.
Is not that one that goes backwards?
At a certain point in the ride's history, you rode it facing backwards, but that was before they flipped the cars. So it's not an actual part of the ride. That was a temporary thing while they redid the ride, because when they flipped it and had you moving in the other direction, now you're looking at basically the back side of the attraction. So if you think about it, when you're riding an attraction, they put all the details in front of you. Nobody ever turns around and looks behind you to see that most of you're not seeing the same details behind you. So they had, in the refurbishment, they had to add details to the other side. But I mean, it was fun. It was, you could hear Indiana Jones music, and it was kind of loosely themed on Indiana Jones, but it's not a groundbreaking attraction like the one in Disneyland. It's okay.
MGM Studios was also host to several Lucasfilm events. In the early 2000s, we had Star Wars weekends held at MGM Studios, and I went to several of those. I had such a great time at those.
Matt, have you been to any Star Wars weekends?
No, I did not get to go down. They always had them in June, and after I joined the 501st, 2015 was, I believe, the last year they did it.
I've been to several Star Wars weekends. I think the first one that I went to personally was in the late 90s, 98, 99, I think. I don't remember exactly. And then I probably went to 3 or 4 different ones in the 2000s. But Star Wars Weekends was great. The whole park was alive with Star Wars characters roaming around. And, you know, look, now as I'm a member of the 501st, so I hang out with Darth Vader all the time, you know, but back then, you know, I wasn't in the 501st and probably didn't even know what it was. So seeing Darth Vader and stormtroopers and stuff in person was a really big thrill. So I always loved Star Wars Weekends. It was just the entire park was Star Wars, and it really made it a lot of fun for a big Star Wars guy like me.
And even when it got to be a little bit goofy, I still enjoyed it, because for me, Star Wars has always been about the fun part of the experience. And even with the dancing stormtroopers and the dance off, I see some of the videos of that still on YouTube, and I just get a big laugh of it. I know they were just having fun. The characters made it seem as if they were transported here for the day, for this weird celebration on this weird planet. I think I've mentioned this before, but I went up to see the Luke character once, and he said, "Where are you from?" And I said, "I'm from New York." And he goes, "Oh, that's north, right?" Like he didn't know. So they made it seem as if they were just here, they were visiting, they were having a fun time, and plus we got to see a lot of Star Wars celebrities up close and personal. Eventually, it gained its own Star Wars land. In the past couple of years, Disney presented Galaxy's Edge, which included Black Spire Outpost and the planet of Batuu.
Yeah, well, I've been to Galaxy's Edge once. We went last December. And actually, the funny thing, it's called Batuu, and it's a very rocky planet. The Indonesian word for rock is Batu.
Great.
Batu. So it doesn't have the extra U on it. But so I think someone was looking at different languages before
Absolutely.
They made it. The theming on it I thought was amazing, with having the different the X. You know, there was an X-wing there. There's a I think an A-wing. There's the speeder. You know, the Millennium Falcon there, having Kylo Ren's shuttle. That's just all fabulous. The Millennium Falcon ride, Smuggler's Run, to be inside the Falcon and, you know, to be in a little, like, I guess you call it their living room, you know, just the detail on that and get your picture on it. The ride itself, engineering wise and technologically, it is amazing what they did with it. The Rise of the Resistance, though, that is amazing, the special effects they have on that. And it's a long ride too, and so
right.
It is well worth going on. So I'm not going to say too much, Dewey. I know you pulled them out to see all of it.
Yes.
But I was pleased with what they did.
Me too, and I know a lot of people say that there's not much of the original trilogy in there, but I found lots of it. I mean, we've got the Millennium Falcon, we've got Chewbacca, there's the Cantina. I mean, those are all things that evoke the original trilogy, as well as the threat of the stormtroopers walking around. It's just that I think what we have to kind of think about is that this is new Star Wars, so it still plays things that we haven't seen yet. I've seen some kind of promotion for something that they're doing next, and you see Batuu in it, and I'm sure it'll appear in Mandalorian or one of their future shows at some point. So eventually it'll be part of what we know, but I think people should just kind of give it a chance. It's a lot of fun. The biggest concern that I have with it is that the intentions that they had at the beginning, I don't see how they're going to possibly follow through with any of it. In videos I've seen, it almost looks like they've kind of given up already. When you went there, since you went this past December?
Yeah, so a year ago.
The cast members still behave as if you were visiting them from another planet?
Cast members who were waiting in line, they were, you know, sort of, hey, yeah, if they were Rise of the Resistance, yeah, they were Resistance people, and they sort of played that role a little bit, but it wasn't the all-inclusive stuff. I don't know if they just scaled that back because of the pandemic and, you know, social distancing and everything. And, you know, any character who was like a face character like Rey, Chewie, they were all just up on a platform. You know, you could just take pictures of them. You really couldn't get too close. So I'm not sure if they'll bring that back in the coming months or year, or whatever, however long it takes. or if that's something they've dropped completely.
When they announced Galaxy's Edge, you know, all of the things that were supposedly coming, there was going to be an interactive part of it where,
right,
you know, you could do it on your phone, and you have a mission, and you're trying to find a bounty hunter or something, and then some of the characters that dressed up. I know one of them was that female character that had like blue hair and stuff. Yeah. Like there was a whole story to Galaxy's Edge that you were supposed to participate in. And, you know, I don't know if it's because of COVID and those restrictions, or it's because of, you know, Disney always pulling back on budgetary reasons and stuff. That stuff's not happening now. And, you know, so I don't know, you know, I mean, if you think about MGM Studios, they used to have the citizens of Hollywood, and you had the like the maintenance guys that always put on the shows in the streets and stuff. And that stuff is fantastic. That kind of stuff was supposed to happen in Galaxy's Edge. And again, like I said, I don't know if it's COVID and it'll come back, or if it's just something they've nixed, but it's not happening right now. So
it would be nice if it came back. It was a lot of, when I went, as I mentioned, it was still kind of new. I know you went pre everything else opening there, but you know, people did say bright suns when you walked in somewhere. When you were going to pay with currency, they called it something else. If you were going to use the restroom, it was a refresher. They still had that lingo going on and made it seem as if you were someplace different. Even the food at that point was called something else. I think they had to scale back because people were getting confused when they walked in there and didn't see their normal menu. I think they've now incorporated things so that you can understand, okay, this is chicken with fries, and before it was some, you know, kind of other special. You
know, I went very early, so I was there in August of 2019, you know, at a cast member preview. But when I went, I was wearing a 501st Legion shirt. So, you know, it's got the Imperial cog on it and everything. So we actually, it was, you know, Chewbacca wasn't up on the riser. I was with Chewbacca. So we had a really cool interaction. Like, he saw the Imperial cog on my shirt and started, like, you know, raising his hands and, you know, roaring and everything. And so Ray had to calm him down. She's like, it's okay, Chewie. He's our friend, you know. So, I mean, it was a really cool interaction. So I probably spent 7 or 8 minutes with Chewbacca, you know, because it wasn't, you know, packed like, you know, like the studios can be. So this interaction with him lasted for a pretty long time. And then he after Ray calmed me down, he gave me a hug and everything, and we became friends, you know. So I'm sure that kind of character interaction will come back once it's safe. But
I love that. That is kind of fun. My wife is actually more of an Imperial fan. I wear Jedi type gear, but my wife she has, Matt, you'd appreciate this. She's got the Scout Walker satin jacket from Heroes and Villains. And she was wearing that, as well as she got this purse that had the Imperial cog on it. And so she was walking around like that. And she spotted Vi Marati, who's the lady with the blue hair, walking by, and she goes, Vi Marati, because we had mentioned that we were going to look for these characters. She goes, Vi Marati. Vi suddenly got all nervous, and she walked over to us and said, why are you shouting out my name like that in the middle of this park? Don't you know it's supposed to be a secret? And we said, no, we're good guys. We've been looking for you. She goes, yeah, I bet you've been looking for me. I see your bag. I see your information. So I love when they are able to interact with us like that, which ties into what you guys kind of do. And so there's been so many interactions with Lucasfilm in the parks, and so we appreciate, or at least I specifically appreciate, both companies. I'm glad that they merged. I'm glad that they are still producing so much content. I mean, we haven't even touched on any of the movies and the TV shows. I mean, since this acquisition, there have been 5 Star Wars movies. I mean, back in 1977, I was lucky there was one, you know, and then there was another one. And to the fact that there's 11 of them, or I don't even know how many there are now, and so many TV shows and so much merchandise and so many ways of enjoying all the different aspects of what just came off from one person's idea of starting this company. And I look forward to much more of it as we go forward.
Absolutely. I know for me, personally, my childhood would not have been the same if it weren't for Lucasfilm and for Disney. I mean, those two things you know, my dreams of going to Disney Worlds, you know, as a child were always present. And then, you know, that for a while, when I was little, every single time I saw the 20th Century Fox fanfare come up on my TV, you know, we're talking, you know, before, obviously we didn't have, you know, guides on the TV where you could see what was coming on and everything. And my family couldn't afford that fancy TV guide magazine down at the Walmart or whatever. But every time I saw that 20th Century fanfare, I was like, please be Star Wars, please be Star Wars, please be Star Wars. And, you know, most of the time it wasn't, and I was always disappointed.
Now they own that too, so.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, Star Wars and Disney were literally my childhood. And the fact that they are one company, you know, like you said, 20th Century Fox, it's called something else now, but the Fox Productions, and Disney owns that now. So, you know, I know there's a lot of controversy with the sequel films and stuff, whether you like them or not, you can't argue with the fact that Disney, the purchase of Lucasfilm, resurrected this franchise, and all the stuff we're getting on Disney Plus with Obi-Wan and Boba Fett and Mandalorian and Andor. I mean, holy smokes, man. It's never been a better time to be a fan of this galaxy far, far away. It's just absolutely amazing. I am 8-year-old Dewey again every time I open Disney Plus. And, you know, I absolutely love it. I'm excited for the future, and just, you know, keep bringing it, Disney. Keep bringing it. I want more.